What is up, you guys? It is Breyonna, and today we are going to be testing out this cute little palette from Morphe. It is called the 9C Color Me Cool, but isn't that color story super cool? Like, I just love it. I mean, we have like this little hint of pastel here in the center. We have these like icy kind of like shades here on the top, and I just love the vibe of it. But what really made me want to try this palette though is the mixed reviews. Like, some people say this palette is bomb and like a ride or die, and other people say, you know, it's not the best. So I just want to see like how I feel about it. I don't know if you guys are like this too, but sometimes when I see a lot of mixed reviews on a product, I really actually want to try it like a little bit more, you know, just to kind of see like where I stand on the spectrum. But before we jump into it, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and also give this video a like. And if you'd like to check me out over on my Instagram page or my TikTok, it is at Breyonna as well. As always, the first thing that I'm going to do is prime my eyelids using my Anastasia eye primer. And I'm doing maybe like a corn kernel in the back of my hand. And I just recently adopted a kitty, and I'm naming her Wednesday. And she does not know what to do yet. We've only had her like 36 hours right now, and she's been like the biggest sweetheart. No hiding, just wants to snuggle and hang out. But she hasn't got her routine yet, and she's not used to me filming, so she's kind of sitting underneath me, kind of like, girl, what are you doing? So my goal today is to try and use all the colors in this palette, which I think is going to be doable, honestly. But the first one I want to go in with is this kind of like yellowy green, and this one is called Bubbly Babe. Okay, pigment, like that's actually a lot on my brush. Like, I barely tapped it in there. And I'm just going to go in with this number 6 from the BH Cosmetics Lavender Luxe. And I'm just going to be applying it in the inner third of my crease. But dang, like that's actually a lot of pigment right away. And then after I get it into my crease, I'm just doing these little circular motions to blend it upwards towards my brow. And again, I'm just trying to keep it in this like inner third, because we are going to be applying the other colors over here in a minute. And I'm just going to do another layer. I just want to see if we can kind of build it up. Oh yeah, you can build it up, but the first initial application does have a lot. So you don't really have to build it up if you don't want to, but if you want it like super intense, you can. Like, dang, like I just can't get over like how pigmented that was. Because sometimes with Morphe shadows, they're a little bit more on the buildable side, but this one so far, definitely, she has a lot to it. I messed up. The shade that we used is actually technically called Bright On, and the next one we are going to be going in with is called Bubbly Babe, which is kind of like this lighter purple shade. So I'm just going to be taking it on this brush from Luna Magic, and I'm going to be applying it in the outer third of my eye. So I'm just going to be applying it into the crease, in the outer third, as well as using it to round out this outer V. I mean, like, seriously though, like, look at how much pigment that has. And especially for a purple shade, like, that's actually applying really, really well. And again, you do want to keep a gap between the green and the purple, because green and purple make like the ugliest brown, and we are going to be applying the blue there in a second. I just personally prefer when I do like a tricolor to do the inner portion and the outer portion, just so I have a little bit more of like an even placement. I'm going to go in with a second layer, and again, I'm focusing this color into the crease and then blending it upwards. Oh yeah, like this one even builds up too. Like, wow, like I'm actually surprised more people aren't talking about the mattes, because that is like really nice, especially for a purple. Because purples are, for me, really hit and miss, especially this kind of shade. A lot of times they look really chalky, but this one looks super smooth. And a little goes a long way with it too. Like, I barely put any on my brush. So once you have that blended out, the next shade that we are going to be going in with is this center blue shade called Cool Points. So I'm just going to be taking this shade on a Morphe M433 blending brush. I'm just going to be applying it right in the center third of my crease. And I'm just going to go in with another layer. And I'm just like pressing it into that crease. Like, I'm really getting like up in there because I want it to be really intense there. And then with whatever's left on my brush, I'm just kind of like feathering it into the purple, doing these little circular motions, as well as into the green. I know a lot of people don't like their 9 pans, but maybe I need to try more of them out. Because if they're this pigmented and this nice with the brights, I could see them being a really good staple in my collection. Wednesday is in a box right now, and I'm not used to a cat like going in my stuff. because Tinkerbell, he just kind of like laid next to me like a dog all the time. And she's a little bit more on the curious side. So last night she woke me up and she went into my kitchen cabinets. Like she grabs like underneath the cabinet like with her paw and like hooks it. And then she goes in. I don't know how she really does it. And she also can do it with doors. Like when there's like an edge between the carpet and the bottom of the door, she like takes her foot and like tries to pull. But a lot of my doors are kind of a little bit harder to open. So she hasn't been really able to open up like closets and whatnot. And she doesn't hide, she just, I don't know. I think in her previous home, that's what she did. I think she hid all the time, and that's kind of why she's trying to do it here. Because she's 3 years old, she's a long hair, fluffy black kitty. She's super, super pretty. And the reason that I named her Wednesday, she has like a little white like triangle on her chest. It's so cute and kind of looks like a collar. So I thought it was really fitting. So now we're going to start deepening things up, and the first one we are going to be going in with is a deeper green in the palette called All the Rave. And I'm just going to be taking it on this little brush from Morphe and popping it into my crease. It kind of looks like an M507. Oh yeah, that really deepened things up. I will warn you though, since these shadows are so pigmented, you have to be a little bit careful when you do apply them. Because when you start like blending them out, they kind of like disperse pretty far outwards. So just keep that in mind. And I'm just going to take that brush that we applied the lighter green with nothing additional on it, and kiss the edge between the dark green and the green that we had applied. Just get a really nice seamless blend. And then the next shade that we are going to be going in with is the deepest purple in the palette called Flattery. And I'm just going to be taking it on this teeny tiny little blending brush, again from Morphe. I believe that this is from the Hit the Lights brush collection. And I'm just going to be popping that right into my crease, as well as using it to round out my outer V. And then afterwards, I'm kind of like blending it upwards, using whatever's left on my brush. So I'm just going to do a second layer just to kind of see if we can build it up a little bit, because I really want it to be a little bit more on the intense side in this outer third. Oh yeah, she definitely builds up. It's actually a really pretty shade. And also the formula is really nice too. I don't know if you can see, but it does not look chunky. And it just looks really nice and smooth. These two purples kind of remind me of the ones in the 39S Such a Gem palette, which is one of my favorite palettes in my collection. Like, I love that one so much. And the purples in this one have that same formula in my opinion. And then lastly, I'm just going to go in with that deepest blue in the palette called Super Popular. And then taking this Morphe M507 brush, I'm just going to be applying that in the center third of my crease. Just going to kind of like finesse it up into that lighter blue, doing these like little circular motions. And also kind of bring it in towards that green as well as the blue. I'm also just going to take like a little bit more on my brush, just to help deepen it up. It seems like the darker blue is a little bit more on the buildable side, which I don't mind as long as it's not giving me any harsh lines, which I don't see at all. It's just not as intense as those deeper ones have been so far. Seems like if you want it to look like it does in the pan, you have to do a couple of layers. I gotta say though, so far I'm just really impressed with those mattes in here. Like, they are just so pigmented and they're just very easy to work with. Like, I have had literally no problems with any of the shades so far. Even the really light pastel ones, they were very pigmented. But off camera though, I'm just gonna cut my crease. I'm just gonna do like a normal cut crease, nothing fancy. And then afterwards, I'll be right back to finish up the lid. And then once the crease is cut, I'm just gonna go in with a little bit more of that deep purple. I'm just going in with this shader brush from the Morphe Pride collection. And I'm literally just like packing it right on that harsh line. I'm maybe going about a third the way onto my lid. And this will also help blend everything together. So now we're going to start working on the lid. And I'm first going to go in with this pinky purple shimmer shade called Twist and Shout. Then using a damp and flat shader brush, I'm just going to be applying it kind of right next to that purple that we just applied. And just a little bit more inwards. Now that's actually a really cool shimmer shade. It almost has like a blue and lavender kind of like iridescence to it. It's really, really pretty. I feel like if you're gonna use this palette and do like a purple monochromatic look, I feel like that shade would look amazing in the center of the lid. I thought that this shade was gonna look a little bit more pink when applied just for how it looks in the pan. But it's like a pinky purple. It's not like a bluish purple. And now I'm just gonna go in with the iridescent blue called Chill Pill. And using a different damp and flat shader brush, I'm just going to be applying it to the rest of my lid, anywhere that that base is still showing. These shimmers to me kind of look a little bit more of like a sophisticated shimmer. So they're really iridescent, they're really on the wearable side. They're not like super like wet metallic and extra glittery. They're more of like that pretty wet sheen, which I feel like really fits the vibe of this palette. This look though is definitely giving me like fairy, almost like mermaid type of vibes. I don't know if you feel like that too. But off camera though, I'm just gonna like clean it up a little bit. I don't know if you can see, but I went a little too low right here with my blending. And I'm just gonna take a little bit of makeup remover and kind of fix it up a little bit just so it's a little bit more sharp. And I'm also, you know, going to like apply like my complexion products, my liner, my lashes, all of that good stuff. And then afterwards, I'll be right back to finish up the look. So here's where I'm at right now with the look. And now we're going to start working on the lower lash line. And I'm first going to go in with that darker purple that we used. And pop it in the outer third of my lower lash line. And I'm just going to go in with the darker blue. Again, using that Morphe M507 brush. I'm just popping it in the center third of my lower lash line. And then lastly, I'm just going to go in with that darker green, and the brush that I'm using is from Profusion. This is a small pointed eyeshadow brush. I really like this brush. I cannot recommend it enough. So good for detail work. Again, I'm just applying and doing these little back and forth motions and slightly overlapping it with that blue. And then last but not least, we're going to be doing my favorite part, which is the inner corner highlight. And I'm just going to go in with this kind of like icy green shimmer shade called Easy There. And I'm just going to be taking this on an Anastasia A14 little pencil brush, and I am packing it really heavy in that inner corner because I want it really bright. Ooh, that's actually really cute. I will say I don't see too much of a difference between this and the blue one. Like there's a little hint of like a green, and the other one has like a little hint of blue, but they almost look near identical. I'm also kind of like bringing it underneath the inner tear duct area, kind of where we have that green, just to help open up the eye. So I'm just going to do another layer because I want to see if we can get it like extra poppin'. I mean, like it got like a little bit more blinding, but it definitely doesn't have like that glittery sheen to it. More of like a duochrome iridescent. You know what, I'm going to show you guys Wednesday even though she's sleeping. I call her Wendy. I don't know, I think that just sounds super cute, but I'm going to go wake her up. So here's Wednesday, and she's sweet. Oh, she's just so cute. She just woke up. But yeah, she lets me hold her like a baby even. And I've been around her only 48 hours. But she's so cute, and she's a long hair little black kitty. And I don't know if you guys can see the white tuft. It's like right here. Let me see. Come on. Nah, she don't want to show you. But yeah, this is Wednesday. She's super cute, and she's really cuddly. So here's the finished look using the Color Me Cool palette, and I gotta say overall I had a lot of fun with this palette. I think it's a really cool palette, and I'm actually surprised that more people aren't talking about it just for the color story alone. But let's talk about the formula, and first of all, the mattes in here are stunning. Super pigmented, very easy to work with, and also beginner friendly. Honestly, I have had absolutely no issues with any of the shades. So when we look at the palette itself, you can see these three in the middle right here are pastels, and even though they are pastels, the formula is actually really good. I have the 35i Icy Fantasy palette, and this palette honestly works a lot better than that one. But I will say the Icy Fantasy is a little bit more pastel than this palette, but again, if you're wanting these types of colors for pastels, it has a beautiful formula. So one thing I will mention though is that the mattes in here are extremely pigmented. Like you barely tap your brush into the pan and apply it and it's like instant payoff. It's almost to the point of being a little too pigmented in my opinion, because it almost gives you, you know, barely any control, especially with these deeper shades down in here. And one thing I will note though is that the deeper blue is a little bit more of a buildable formula than the others. Like it does have a lot of pigment to it, but it's not as pigmented as the other ones, so you have to do about 2 to 3 layers to get it to look like it does in the pan. But honestly for me, I don't find it a big deal building up my shadows. I know some people aren't really into it, but I would rather have to build it up than to have to deal with harsh lines and having to like finesse it for like 10 minutes. So if you don't like building up your shadows, you might not like that shade, but for me personally, I think it's beautiful. As for the shimmers in here, they're kind of like an iridescent duochrome in my opinion. They are very beautiful, and they kind of have like this gorgeous like wet sheen on the eyes. I think they look stunning and really fit the vibe of the palette. But I will say, if you are somebody that likes like super intense glittery wet metallic shimmers, you will not like the ones in this palette, because these ones to me are a little bit more of like a wearable shimmer. They're not like that extra type of looking one. But if you're somebody that likes those everyday shimmers, you know, something that's very subtle but at the same time has a beautiful shine to it, I think you're gonna love the ones in this palette. So when it comes down to it, would I recommend this palette to you guys? And honestly, I definitely recommend checking it out. I think it's a really awesome palette, and I'm surprised I haven't seen more people talk about it, because truly, like, the quality of it is amazing, and also it's $12, so it's definitely a really good price. I feel like for a 9-pan palette though, like this one is actually just really nice, and I feel like you can do a lot of things with it. You know, you can do these really simple monochromatic looks because again, you get a shimmer, a pastel, and then you get kind of like a mid to deeper tone for each of the colors. You know, you get 3 shimmer shades and 6 mattes, so I feel like you can just do a lot of different types of looks with this one. But yeah, so in the comments down below, let me know what you think about this look, and also if you have picked up this palette, I would love to hear what you think about it as well. But as always though, if you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below and also give this video a like. And if you'd like to check me out over on my Instagram page, it is at Breyonna as well. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!